Conclusion of Boulder's motor. I'm doing the final assembly now. I really would have liked to have walked y'all through this step by step, but I'm sorry to say that at this time I'm just too far behind on getting stuff out due to some shop problems I had back in December. And now we have this bad problem with heating, and about one of the worst winters on me financially with heat that I've ever had. So it's caused me to have to go ahead and go full speed on it, because using photography and filming this takes a great amount of time. So there's an engine note coming up soon, and it's not going to be like this deal. The guy that I'm doing it for, he's really not a customer. He's somewhat of a friend. We're going to be doing a 460 cubic inch big block Ford, and it's going to have way more tricks than Boulder's motor ever thought about having. And we're going to go through this step by step. At least you got to see zero deck in the block and a couple other things. I thought I'd give you a quick rundown. The clearances on this motor absolutely came out perfect. I ended up with 2.5 on all the mains except for number 5, which had 3, and on the connecting rods 2.5 to 2/7 thousandths clearance on all 8. The block zero decking come out so good. I'm positive 1 out of the hole, 0 here. The other side I'm positive 1 and positive 2. I'd rather have them come out of the hole just a touch than be down below it. So quench was received on the block. All the grinding and clearancing. The crank has an absolute beautiful rotation, and the case without anything hitting. These are the vent pipes for the oil control. I can get a little bit of film tonight. I can take a minute and show you some of the highlights of the engine. Another thing is the beautiful Roller Master timing chain with the billet steel gears and the German chain. Had a bit of luck on this, guys. The block was line honed, and the machinist told me, probably I can use a stock timing chain, and well, I'm sorry, I don't go for that shit. This is a -5 chain, +5, however you want to look at it, and I put it on, and look at there, man, it is almost perfect. Got the 1/8 inch movement that she's supposed to have, and this is something really unusual. I probably have done 100 of these, where you put the cam button on and you have to put that on. You usually have to take a ball peen hammer and beat on it a touch, form it, and then the gasket thickness as you walk. This thing fit on perfect without having to touch it. You won't do that one too often. So I got that part, and I'm just going to show you briefly a couple of look at the pistons and some other highlights of the motor. This is March 5th, 2014. And if I'd have done it my way and we'd have had time, the motor would have been done April the 1st. That week through, the first, second week of April, which I don't know what this guy's going to do. I guess he's going to be out there riding on the ice. But anyway, perfect, absolute everything on it. A 30 thousandths ring in gap on the piston rings. That was a bit of a bitch, because of the Keith Black Hyper Eutectic, and I had another thousandths or 2 where I did the polishing of the top of the piston to pull the silicone up. It's going to give me a little bit better heat transfer. But I mean, man, every once in a while you'll get one on it. Every piece of this has turned out so good. Hate to see it go in a damn boat, to tell you the truth. And that needs to go in a pickup truck. But anyway, we'll get back in a minute as I go and I'll show you the highlights of Boulder's engine. Like I said, we're doing a 460 Ford, and this one's going to be step by step, by the book, welded heads. We're going to weld the exhaust ports, raise the runners on it, all kinds of tricks. You're going to get to see it set up. We got a budget of $3,000 to spend in that cylinder heads, welding, all this stuff that we're going to try to get this car, it's a 93 Mustang, into the high 6s. No nitrous. All right. As I mentioned, I'd go over some of the highlights here of it. One thing I wanted to take a minute and point out. Over the years, I've used a bunch of different pans, everything from hamburger to Steph's to, which are very high dollar aluminum pans with baffling, windage, trays, crank scrapers. some of them costing in the range of $1,000. But this right here, Moroso, used to be one of the kings of oil pans years ago. But you know, their technology went to the side. They died around and become a low-end oil pan. But I'm going to tell you, this one right here really surprised the hell out of me, and is probably one of the best bargains that you're going to find. This is part number 20191. It's a steel pan, not aluminum, but it is chock full of features, and is a, I mean, for the money, I think it was around $200, $220. It's just incredible. And I'm going to get you a closer zoom look, but let me just spit off some of the features. First off, it is a 7-quart pan, I do believe, with a crank scraper. Now, it ain't the best. The real ones, of course, you have to notch and fit on the side of the block, which sometimes have oil leaks, but they got you a pretty good crank scraper. A diamond type windage tray, and an anti-slosh baffle right here for good oil control back and forth. And it is a split pan here that it comes out and goes wide, but not too wide. One of the problems with these types pans is that you get into header clearance with headers. I've used this pan on 3 different builds, and none of them had a problem with headers. They get a little close, but won't hit it. So 7 quarts, street use, pro street use. I mean, hell, these are good for 1/8 of a mile and 1/4 mile racing. 7 quart, and then you get the black box pickup, which we got the really good oil pump. Personally, I like the ones with the anti-chatter grooves in it, although there's some saying about low oil pressure, real low RPMs. But this pan right here is no doubt the best pan in that price range, probably up to $400. I picked it because it's for a boat. Now, in a boat, you know, you got that up and down movement on the water and all that. So we're going to have sloshing control in here. And we got our windage tray, and this is for the 375 stroke crank, which is about all you can get. It does have notching right here just a little bit for the 375 stroke crank. You guys better watch that getting into some of the stroker deals when you have to go in here and modify the frame rails and all that, which I had to cut at that into the block. But man, I just wanted to point it out, Moroso, you've done a great job. It's been a long time, and I hate to see a good old company that's been around forever totally go away, but they're trying to make a comeback. But this is one hell of an economical pan with the features that it's got into it. Now, one of the things that I do, and this is just me, you can see it's got bolts in here for holding the tray in. I always go in there and take red Loctite, and I go in there and take all the bolts loose. I do it one at a time. Okay, so that way, see, that it wasn't real loose, but that felt loose. It didn't take no strength. I go in there and take these bolts out and put some red Loctite on them and pull them in, because we sure as hell don't want something coming loose in there while it's going on. And you people can't imagine the amount of centrifugal force and aerodynamics as the crankshaft is rotating, which is why I've got the valley pipes in the top of the block to keep oil from dropping down in there. It's just solid engineering to look in every direction that you can, and that hunt for horsepower, whether it be windage, which, as you know, the dry sump is the king of that, having no oil down in here in the pan, drawing it out with a Weaver external pump. But man, all these features, the scraper and stuff. So I just wanted to point that out. And the reason I've done it's a boat. It's going to be jumping. It needs that slosh. And you just can't beat this pan for the economy. Great street pan, great race pan on a budget. Perfect boat pan. This is what the doctor ordered. So anyway, like I said, just showing you some of the highlights of parts that we're using. All the pistons are fitted, everything's in the motor, and now we go to pan fitment, which has an interesting note in here I get a kick out of, because this is usually the pain in the ass of the operation. Pan fit can be the awfulest thing. When using high volume pumps with these pans, the rear slosh baffle may have to be notched for clearance. This is due to production tolerances in block pan and pan assemblies. That's a little bit of truth. How about in welding and setting up the pan clearances and then making the same pan like the headers that you seen that we have to sand and everything else? Quality control in the United States has really went to hell in a handbag. So take your time. Don't be in a hurry. When you're putting the pan on, turn it through several times. Have a good ear. Pull it out. You have a question, take you some modeling clay, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it where it needs to be, turn it, and make sure that you got clearance, that there's no problem. Because, boy, you don't know what a mess you'll have if you put this on and you ain't slowed down and checked all the clearances. Boom, boom, boom. And then once it does that, you know, when it first starts, that's it. So anyway, my hat's off to you, Moroso. Fantastic pan for the money. Glad to have it on this combination build. All right.